Once again, the United States is sticking their nose where it doesn't belong, and that again is back into Serbian politics and how Serbia decides to run its country. Now, the latest article here is that Serbia will be penalized as of August 7th. You may be watching this video on August 7th or a couple days after the fact, but Serbia is being penalized with tariffs of 35% due to its partnership with Russia again. And this article is going to talk about what they're thinking of imposing, why they're thinking of imposing it, and I want to ask you as the people and the viewers, what are your thoughts when it comes to this again? And I'm going to talk about what I think is going to happen with these tariffs, and is it actually going to affect Serbia much at all? United States of America, the great, wonderful United States. They are thinking that they run the whole globe and that they're the biggest bully on the playground, and they're going to start bullying the small dogs in this world, because if you don't listen to what we do, if you don't toe our line, you are going to be penalized. And I got another article, I'm going to talk about this in another video, but they're also going to be trying to put pressure on us because they want us to recognize Kosovo as an independent state, which I highly doubt that's ever going to happen. But I digress. Let's keep it to the tariffs on this one, but do stay tuned for the next video when I talk about that subject. So this article starts off with Serbia has failed to reach an agreement with the United States regarding the rate of new tariffs, which are set to come into force August 7th and could reach as high as 35% on Serbian exports to the United States. This is among the highest on the list of affected countries, even higher than that imposed on US main trade rival China, which stands at 30%. The European Union managed to negotiate tariff cap at 15%. The Serbian Chamber of Commerce said that they are disappointed with the decision by the U.S. administration, especially considering that, according to the data from the Republic's Statistical Office, Serbia runs a trade deficit with the U.S., not a surplus as claimed by American authorities. So that's another thing that a lot of the people that come to us, especially if they're still living abroad, you're going to get one version of news and you're going to get another version of news here in Serbia, and somewhere in between the truth is. A Danas Daily source who wished to remain anonymous believes the new tariffs are likely a political message and punishment for Serbian partnership with Russia. They recall that the U.S. had in the meantime issued an ultimatum to Moscow to sign an agreement with Ukraine by August 8th under threat of imposed tariffs of up to 100%, not only on Russia but also on its partners, especially those countries to import Russian goods and energy, which is Serbia, of course. Serbia is a partner of Russia, of course. We've been partners with Russia for a long time. Russia also did not create chaos in Serbia either. And of course, we're going to be more closer with Russia than we will be with the United States ever, in my opinion. They also added that the tariff negotiation with the U.S. were led by representatives of the Serbian government with the mediation of lobbyists in a similar fashion to the case of sanctions against the petroleum industry of Serbia, which is NIS. So we have, of course, a company NIS, which supplies gas here in Serbia, and being that it's mostly Russian owned, they wanted to impose tariffs or sanctions on that company because, of course, because Russia's bad. And so now it's not only that, but it's now on goods and energy and so on and so forth. The Danas Daily source also pointed to Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić stated that he does not believe there will be any further delays in US sanctions on Nice, noting that the president's remarks are not accidental, as the US is gradually tightening the grip around Russia, which I actually do not believe. If you look at what's going on with Russia, and all the businesses that have withdrawn since they've started imposing sanctions on Russia, Russia's actually been doing a lot better. Actually, as a matter of fact, a lot of the companies that removed all their business out of Russia are now knocking back on Russia's door, saying we want to come back in because you have such a big market. And now Russia is saying, no, you guys left. Now it's your problem, not ours. And maybe that's another reason that the United States is not liking that, because a lot of these US companies that withdrew and listened to the presidents of the United States saw what they actually did is they actually shot themselves in the foot. And now that they can't get back in, they're crying to daddy government in the United States saying, oh, well, we did what you said, and now they won't let us back in. And so now they're even worse. On the other hand, some Russian producers who export goods to the US told Danos they are considering relocating production abroad. They stressed that in certain industries under these export conditions to the United States, manufacturing in Serbia will no longer be viable. However, if you look at it, we do not actually export too much to the United States. It's typically to the European Union. We also bring in a lot of supplies in from China. Serbia and China have really good relations. This morning, we were able to find out that the White House website and global media, and by all accounts, all arguments had already been submitted and the result was simply pending. The result is now clear and previously announced its amount to 35% tariffs. According to Bojan Stanic, there is still a chance for negotiations in the remaining 7 days before the decision comes into effect. He notes that there is also a possibility of changes after 7th of August, given that the current US administration is known for reversing decisions. And this you've seen well in force and in play since the Trump administration has come into office, is that one day the tariffs are on, one day the tariffs are off. One day it's 10%, the next day it's 20%. And nobody knows what's going on. And I honestly believe that Serbia has gone through very difficult times in the past. If you look at the 80s and the 90s, with the high inflation prices that they had back in there, then the Serbian people were still able to come together and get through that. I didn't say that they lived like kings. I'm not saying that it's glorious times, but Serbia has gone through a lot harder times in the 80s and the 90s. And then when, of course, NATO bombed Serbia, that was another thing. You had 70 some odd days of straight bombing for no reason. And that's how Kosovo came into play. And we'll talk about that one in the next article. And that was all simply to divide and conquer Serbia. And of course, now that Serbia is still doing great and we have great business relationships with people all across the world, or countries across the world, that includes African countries, that includes Russia, that includes China and the EU, that now that they want to somehow swing Russia or Serbia to get away from Russia, get away from China. They're bad. You have to rely on us. We are the, your bread and butter, per se, should I say. Stancic also pointed out that Serbian goods will now be more expensive compared to the competition, meaning domestic companies will face serious difficulties maintaining their presence in the US market. That's why we're disappointed, as economic relations between Serbia and the United States have been on a strong upward trend in recent years. And this is one of the issues that I see with always a new administration coming in. You have one president coming in one year and they do a bunch of things and things get better. Then you get another one that has a total and complete opposite view of how things should go. And they go on to say here, all of this is now in a way being threatened by political decisions. We see a unreasonable, especially considering that according to statistics aligned with Eurostat, Serbia has a trade deficit with the US, not a surplus, Stančić added. And one of the things that, I don't understand is why can't we all just play nice? When I look at working with people here in Serbia, with our partners that we work with, and people in our office down in Belgrade, we all want to make sure that we all get a portion of our pie, that our clients are treated fairly, they get what they needed, and we all, on the other hand, are coming out happy on that end. We don't want to be like, I want to make all the money and you're going to work for minimum wage, or let's hike up our prices, to ridiculous amounts and completely drain our clients because they're coming from a foreign country and they have all this money. We know as a business that our clients moving to Serbia is not something that is very easy. You need every single dollar that you have to be able to establish your life here. So it doesn't matter if it's purchasing property, purchasing a car, putting your kids in private schools, purchasing groceries, whatever it may be, you need that money. So we charge accordingly. We make sure that we make our profits, but at the same time that we're not stripping away, skin off our clients' back. And I believe that's what the United States is trying to do here with Serbia, is they're trying to say, hey, listen, you don't want to play the game that we're saying that you should, and you've not joined the European Union, you guys are staying neutral, you guys are bad. You're not supposed to be doing that. And you want to play with Russia, you want to play with China, and China's in Serbia and building all these roadways, putting in all these tunnels, and you're getting all this extra foreign investment from all these other countries that we're going to penalize you. And that is not what we want. I will leave a link to this article in the description of this video so that you can read the rest of it and see what they have to say. But I believe that this is just something that the Trump administration is, trying to play chess with. What's his name? Trump's son, he was here not too long ago. They're looking at actually putting money into Serbia. And so it's funny that on one hand, they're trying to penalize Serbia. At the same time, they're trying to put in money into Serbia to, make investments or capitals or whatever they want to do with their business. What are your thoughts when it comes to this? I'd like to see what your comments are in the comments section of this video, and I'll see you on the next one.